Do you fall into, or do you get questions from advisor practices where there are different advisors in the practice and they each have a different niche?
Yeah. Yeah, it's not super common for us just because a lot of our advisors are solo advisors and it's their firm. But we have worked with a few clients who, yeah, there are multiple advisors. They each have their own specialty. Even if it's generally similar, they each have their own little niche that they prefer to work with. And what's interesting is I've also noticed lately we've had a few advisors where the lead advisor is a little bit older, and more often than not, their own son has come in and is now a new advisor for the firm and they're taking over. And so there's that generational gap as well of who they're focusing on. So yeah, we've definitely dealt with a few people who have that.
Yeah, I get actually get that question quite a bit, either where the advisors have a different niche. I mean, I have one client practice that the advisors are polar opposite
Yeah.
in who they're targeting.
Mm,
And they want to market under one website, so that can get a little bit difficult.
yeah.
I have had other advisors too who it's even if it's a solo advisor, they have different niches. Like
Mm,
they work with families and that sort of thing, but they're starting to specialize in professionals in the veterinarian space or
yeah.
something like that. So how, do we differentiate? Do we
Hmm.
create a whole other website?
Yeah.
How do we do that? And it really does depend. It can get a little complicated because with marketing, you don't want to have a lot of mixed messaging. It's
Hmm.
confusing for people, and there's a big part of them that wants to go to a website and like confirm what they're already thinking.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know? So when you throw something weird at them, they're confused about it.
It's true.
Yeah. So one of the things I have recommended with advisors is especially because we work quite a bit with custom content,
Hmm.
blogs and things like that, is that the two or three or however many advisors need to be active in that blog. And
Yeah.
usually, again, with a WordPress website or any other platform, you can choose who the author
Right.
of that blog. And so the visitor can see, okay, well, this is that advisor who specializes in this.
Yes. Yeah, that's a good idea. I like that. And it's true of the using the educational content to also define those different segments of people because like you said, people want to come to a website, they want their own questions answered, their own thoughts validated. And so to see educational content that aligns with where you're at or what you're thinking is huge. And then yeah, you see the author, you kind of start piecing it together. And another thing that I've seen some websites do that I think is really interesting and unique is instead of your standard service layout where it's just, financial planning, investment management, what they've done is they'll say services for business owners, services for individuals, whatever, or for retirees, for working professionals, whatever that segment is. They kind of strip the service title away from it, at least from a navigation standpoint, and they're talking right to that audience. And I think that's a really interesting way to do it too, because you're giving them a path that is just for them, and you're not forcing them to figure out, do I need investment management? Do I need this? Does that apply to me? You're laying that out too. And I think that's an interesting concept of not only making it stand out from a website standpoint, but then also really meeting that audience and defining those different categories.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think too, I've had advisors do that, not only with different types of services that they offer, but even if they're in a geographic location where there's one large employer there, if it's the
Yeah.
energy sector, if it's construction or whatever it is, to create a page
Hmm.
that speaks specifically to those employees or to that management or
Right.
whatever it is, so that if there is no question, like we are the expert in what you do, your type of compensation, we
Right.
understand your benefits, you can really get into detail there. So,
Hmm.
yeah. I mean, again, that's such a great thing to do in general, just because, we want these advisor websites to stand out a little bit
Yeah.
instead of just the general. I mean, you and I have been through this for quite a while. There are key phrases that you and I must hear 50 times a day.
Right.
It's on a website or whatever content that we're creating. And so, yeah, I'm to the point now I was like, oh, how can we say comprehensive financial planning differently? I'm so tired of that key phrase.
I know. I know, it's so true. And I think that's something that not many advisors realize is that a lot of times their difference is in the people and is in the clients because again, everyone's comprehensive these days, everyone's fiduciary, everyone's fee only, they get it, they're personal. People have seen that enough. And so I think it's important to shift the narrative a little and say, well, who is that for? And am I that person that you can help? And another